We are going live shortly. Live, we are live. Please hit in the likes. Sorry for the delay today, but there were some technical and logistical issues. But we are here and glad to be here. So thank you so much. My two well-dressed co-hosts or co-conspirators.
बिल्कुल आज का कॉन्स्पिरेसी क्या है यार इथर एनर्जी
नहीं यार come on. There's a bigger market to
आईटी ना 4.5% up तो ऐसा शॉर्ट कवरिंग है बट इट्स प्राइमरली दैट व्हिच इज
No, but the recovery per se, Sajeet, at the small cap index was down 0.72% at a point of time. Today, it is now flat in trade, right? So there is a bit of a recovery that has happened across the board, except for banks, of course.
Yeah.
Banks have
banks are down 0.5% there, right? But yesterday, HDFC Bank, again, if you look at the delivery volumes, which was very good in there.
नहीं बट ओवरबॉट लग रहा था
70% डिलीवरी है यार मतलब
फिर भी ओवरबॉट लग रहा था ये हमने कल गोल्ड के बारे में बोला कि इतनी कोई भी एसेट क्लास हो इतनी तेजी से भागे तो एक बार के लिए प्रॉफिट बुकिंग
हाँ वो मिड कैप किसी ने बोला था ना वन ऑफ द
नहीं आज हमने भाई साहब अगर आप चैनल देखते हैं आज सुबह जो आप कभी कभी देखते नहीं हो बट मैं बोल रहा हूँ तो आप देखते
सुनता हूँ मैं
अरे सर दिल बाग बाग हो गया
बागवान हो गया
By the way, at the onset though, from all of us here, and there's a bit of a mood change in the newsroom as well. हम लोग ये शो पे normal रहते हैं, but our hearts go out to all the people who've suffered in the Pahalgam attack, and we certainly hope that justice prevails. So
yes, and soon.
Yeah. So that is the first thing. And we do hope that the valley, which was starting to see some very good tourism and normal business,
yes,
at some point of time,
it should go back to normal.
Goes back to normal. So that prayer, of course, stays for everybody. You know, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, we from a market lens, you look at J&K
we are still
Bank
talking
and
about
some
it,
of
right?
the
Means
others.
how the entire infra of J&K has changed over the last decade or so.
Yeah.
And you know, and we saw this happening.
Sajeet, ये पता नहीं social media पे या whatever it is, but there are so many videos of the localites in Kashmir, which I haven't seen in the past.
They are coming in
cursing this attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
it's their livelihood which is being hit, right?
Yeah.
In that sense, these people have come to the mainstream. In fact, 24-25 has been the best year in terms of tourism for J&K, especially Kashmir, Srinagar area, Pahalgam.
So our hearts go out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but anyways. So markets are recovering from a little bit of loss today, which is actually a good thing. But 4% for IT, courtesy Donald Trump's comments, I guess.
Trump doesn't want Powell to go as of now, or he's saying he doesn't want
Maybe
to go.
US will be very happy listening to the investors there.
And the China factor actually the China is a bigger factor, which is there saying that he is willing to sit with them, and it may not be zero, but there will be something provided China comes. But China hasn't reacted to it. Actually.
China has not reacting
at all.
At all.
Yeah. So what did China say? Last time, let him increase the rate. We're going to start ignoring it.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big ignore which is getting in. And China is slowly, steadily selling off US treasuries.
Yeah.
And that's creating an issue for him domestically because the cost of debt is going up for Trump, right? So, big economy, that's the leverage that now China and Japan have. You want to put tariff. We'll make sure that whatever you're trying to gain from here, you end up paying more than that.
And a lot of refinancing also of US debt this year.
That is true.
That's another big problem because so much foreign ownership.
Apparently, $8 trillion of refinancing is expected to happen in this financial year of debt, US debt. And for every basis point it goes up, the treasury yield, you have to pay $100 billion.
But आज का reaction on IT is the belief that businesses will have a bit more certainty, right, Puneet?
Yeah, definitely.
Certainty से ज़्यादा, I think, the uncertainty factor coming down.
A bit more of that.
I think कल आपने बोला था IMO पे कि HCLTech का results is generally something to watch out for because of commentary and because of guidance, and I think that has held on. I think that.
So now it's what, 2 versus 2?
Yeah, I think 2 versus 2. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Why 2 versus 2?
Infi didn't speak of cancellations.
Infi, yeah. and I think we're hoping ki, like, at least today also LTIM is expected to report results. Another, it's going to be decent, not that bad, but again, commentary
But
and...
both of them are talking about delay, right? Means all of them are talking about delay, which is happening.
Huh.
Delay of order flow, and delay of start of projects.
But sorry,
ये
I
सब
thought
कर रहे हैं.
HCLTech ने Puneet ये
Yeah.
बोला कि March में they bagged a lot of deals.
And I think the number was essentially that Q4 they didn't see any impact from US tariffs, and 50% of deal bookings are done in Q4 were closed in March 2025, and they are the first company actually essentially in the large cap to come and quantify कि March wasn't bad. TCS said that we are looking at it and some conversation.
TCS ने बोला कि Feb तक everything was fine. March is when the uncertainty hit and some of the deals could pushed. Basically.
And everyone's calling out manufacturing as a problem, and I think that's expected. But I think there could be
manufacturing, auto, retail, all three.
Yeah.
But like I think this is a big positive actually coming out from HCLTech, which I think it's taking the whole IT index above as well.
Yeah, but I was did you read the Citi report which came in on IT? It means they're saying that IT is still at a 12% premium to Nifty. On a short-term basis or a 2-3-year basis, it's at a slight discount to Nifty in terms, because they're not taking 5 years because of the COVID period which is coming in. But they're saying that the large caps are still higher, have a higher thing, and mid caps are not. Means the one of the interesting things which everyone spoke about and Citi is also talking is that the earnings cut which has happened is in the middle single digits which have come in, which shows that it's not as bad, right, in that sense.
Agreed. Now let's talk about the big movers today.
Yes.
Before I talk about Waaree,
Yeah.
I want either of you to talk on the downtick that we've seen in the cooling solution companies. Voltas, Blue Star, Havells, all of them are down.
And I think
You track that space, Puneet?
I think a little bit, but I think it's triggered with Havells because yesterday they reported results and they've said that they're seeing some issue in selling of those cooling products, and I think this is the first time where a consumer durable company is coming out and saying it. And I think now we'll wait
Is it also a base effect? I'm just asking because last year the summers were much earlier and the volumes were much higher.
No, but last year volumes were very high.
Yes, because summers were early and volumes were higher. And this time, if you're comparing it with last year, then the volumes would be muted in that sense, right?
I think with all the conversations before yesterday, before the results of Havells was about compressors and shortages of those plants. Abhi suddenly it's a demand side issue which Havells has pointed out. Now I don't know if it's company specific because they operate in the premium ACs via Lloyd. So I think that is one, but I think I think we might see some more comments from Amber. I think some more positive comments. I think from players like Amber, players like EPAC. But consumer durable, I think this is the first time where someone has actually pointed out that this could be a demand side issue. Yeah.
It could be I want to hear what Blue Star is going to say.
Yeah.
Or a Voltas is going to say because he's going to say. But my sense could be that, and I may be wrong here, because last year we have seen an excessive summer coming in and a lot of demand for these cooling solutions coming in. And उसके बेसिस पे अगर हम देख रहे हैं कि वॉल्यूम कितना ग्रो हुआ है तो वॉल्यूम शायद नॉर्मलाइज वॉल्यूम होगा इस बार.
Yeah. I think the key was that inventory was so low last year that a lot of it went into filling and it continued over the last 3 quarters as well. So inventory is at a reasonable level, not very low but not very high as well. It's reasonable. But abhi I think demand side pe they've said that I think my colleague Mahima had also pointed out ki some summer set is with some delay this season. That's the thing. But I feel like with whatever
and
has been coming out,
sporadic rains in south.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where and I'm telling this from an experience point of view because last year my parents were looking for cooling solutions and they were getting a waiting period. And now for the last few weeks they're talking about rains and sporadic rains which are coming in, which is cooled down the thing. So the demand is little lower in that sense, which is there. So it could be that as one of the reasons, and a normalized demand coming in instead of maybe the volume or the base effect which is coming in, which is there.
But the growth trajectory needs to be seen for the next question. I think we might see some in May.
But Waaree बताइए क्या number है?
17% higher.
Yeah.
The stock.
On a valuation that was.
The stock is almost double the IPO price. You know that. 1500 के आसपास आया था.
1500 का लिस्टिंग 2200 का लिस्टिंग प्राइस है.
हाँ 1500 का IPO था, 2200 का लिस्टिंग कुछ था और अभी 3000 के आसपास है. या 3066.
Yeah.
आप तो मिल के आए
Yeah.
क्या बोला कंपनी
आज बात भी किया रही. So जो मिलके आया वो तो conversation. By the way, that conversation I think we playing it out on Friday. That is from their new cell factory.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so which is fabulous. But for now, restrict it to what is disclosed by the management today on the interview, right? So the standout feature was margins went up to 23%, right? Everybody believed that sell prices etc. नीचे आ गए हैं उसकी वजह से margins जो 12, 13, 14% हुआ करते थे वो शायद वापस 11, 12% भी हो जाए. Nobody penciled this in. They've clocked in margins at 23.
Yeah.
They are guiding to a good trajectory for margins, which leads me to believe that while he didn't commit to it, I probed him quite a bit, but he didn't commit to it, that margins will stay higher. Whether it's 23 or 20, I mean anybody's guess, or maybe 18, whatever. But it is a decent number. Part 3, they've clocked in what, 3,000 crores of EBITDA for FY25.
Yes, that's a guided. They've guided to analysts that 3,000 crore करेंगे हम.
They are now guiding FY26 5,500 to 6,000 crores.
Yes, but you know, on the order book size, just to give and I was speaking to Mika also because she also tracking this.
हाँ कम हुआ है इस quarter.
हाँ 500 megahertz का हुआ है.
ठीक है.
हाँ वही है एक और कुछ नहीं है.
Agree. But Sajeet, my limited point is this.
They have 25 gigawatt का order book है उनका आज. 47,000 करोड़.
हाँ.
और 25
gigawatt
बराबर का है. 20 Q3 के एंड में 26.5 था और इस क्वार्टर में उन्होंने 2.02 किया. तो रफली अराउंड 550 मेगावाट्स का एडिशनल ऑर्डर इनको इस क्वार्टर में मिला, विच इज अ स्लो मूव. इट कुड बी बिकॉज ऑफ द काइंड ऑफ ग्लोबल अनसर्टेनिटी विच इज हैपनिंग एंड यूएस की वजह से भी हो सकता है.
वही है ना, कौन बिजनेसमैन डिसीजन लेगा जब टैरिफ्स पे, मॉड्यूल्स पे, सेल्स पे इतना सारा ये वो ड्यूटी. बट माय लिमिटेड पॉइंट इज दिस दैट मुझे लग रहा है तब तक उनकी स्ट्रैटेजी कि भाई एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम मॉड्यूल ओवर कैपेसिटी and module saturation comes in. So instead of banking only on that, let's कैसे कहते हैं, एक लाइन ड्रॉ करो ऐसे, राइट? हाँ, दिस इज अ परफेक्ट लाइन. देखिए ऐसा लाइन ड्रॉ करो तो ये मॉड्यूल बिजनेस है, राइट? अभी इसमें हम ऊपर नीचे जा रहे हैं तो सेल्स बनाएंगे, ये करेंगे वो करेंगे, बट एक्सपैंड करो इसको, खींचो तो अभी एक अलग लाइन भी बना दो, बैटरी एनर्जी स्टोरेज सिस्टम्स, इसमें भी ऊपर नीचे करेंगे, एंड वॉट एवर एल्स कम्स इन दैट इकोसिस्टम. सो दे गो horizontal and they are going vertical in order to diversify revenues away from only modules. I think it's a really smart strategy.
Next big opportunity is
battery energy. So one small thing that I can say out of that interview, because it's so Mr. Hitesh Doshi from that cell plant. So this is the beauty, right, of the conversation according to me. It's a module company having a conversation in a newly launched cell unit. So therefore you think that the conversation will be about cells and what that factory will do, and it was. He's talking in that unit about battery energy storage systems as the next big thing. They are already thinking on those lines. And the last part, I mean, again, I just like when managements are conservative. This management is saying that we can take debt, but we don't want to take debt. It's our ethos that we don't want to take too much of debt. So it's a capital intensive industry, and they want to do it everything via internal accruals and not take debt, which should lead me to believe that they will not take highly risky decisions. If somebody is so averse to debt, they are largely averse to too much of risk. They're thought through meticulously, going ahead. So you want to bank on something like this, which is what probably explains the 70%
And
uptake.
they are also banking on the domestic market in a big way. अभी 50% US से आ रहा है, पर battery energy storage system will be big in India. That's a big thing which everyone is talking about, right? So
they also have a plant in USA, right?
Yeah, and they're expanding the capacity there.
So
good on them. I mean,
multi-level growth.
Whether it deserves a 10%, 15%, 5% up move is debatable. But they are putting the right notes out there. That was very impressive.
Ether.
Yeah, finally.
आप दोनों बताओ.
मैं तो इंटरव्यू करके आया हूँ, अभी देखेंगे आप टीवी पे, अभी दिखेगा आपको 1:30
कितने बजे? 1:30 तो हो गया सर.
हाँ, तो हो रहा होगा, टीवी में जा रहा होगा.
पर उधर स्विच मत मारो अभी. 2 बजे.
हम आपको बताते हैं हमने क्या बात की.
But Ather, like very this thing, I think it was expected to be in the first week of April. थोड़ा साइज छोटा कर दिया उन्होंने IPO का अभी. But it's a very interesting time to actually do an IPO, and I think you guys will be able to talk more about that. कि for a company which is negative 23% EBITDA margins to do at a time where it's so uncertain. I think that's one. But
that's what I was asking him also in the interview, saying that you have a negative cash flows, you have a competitor who is in the market, and there's a headwind with respect to perception which is coming in, which is there. So he said, all that is fine, but we have been very conservative in growing because they have 280 odd touch points or experience centers and they want to expand. उसमें उसका 1700 का टॉप लाइन है 9 महीने के लिए, ठीक है, 23% नेगेटिव एबिटा मार्जिन है, ग्रॉस मार्जिन वो बोलता है 19% है, which was 9% last year, so they've been able to bring it down. They're going to get into a newer two-wheeler platform, EL platform, and a Zenith motorbikes platform. He didn't give the timeline. Of course, he can't because RHP file किया उसने तो. So we assume that next 12 months है. But he's spending 10 to 15% of sales in R&D. And he thinks that's what we're going to do. We are not going to have any manufacturing there. Our IP would be design development, and we will outsource it to all the suppliers who will give us, and we'll assemble, integrate, and we'll sell the product. So that's what he's talking about. Profitability, he said we have an eye on it, but he didn't give a timeline on it. But my sense is that it will again take a year for a.
So Puneet was telling me something which I want you to tell me. So I was asking Puneet, right? Okay, Puneet, ये EBITDA फिलहाल नहीं है, but their guidance could be positive, maybe?
Could be. And the thing is, the sales hasn't grown. Last year they sold 1 lakh scooters. They sold 1 lakh 30 this year. So it's been a year where it's been thoda recalibration. But what's interesting is the Rizta which they launched.
Yeah.
Earlier they had Ather 450. That's a performance scooter. And India mein sirf one scooter sells out of the 5 that's sell in India is one of them is only a performance scooter. Performance is like very high speed. You have a lot of features. With Rizta, which is a family scooter, they've expanded their addressable market. So now women can buy that. You have a little more comfort. You have a lot of boot space in the scooter. So they've just expanded that market, and वो sales में दिख रहा है अभी उनके 50% sales is now Rizta.
Yes, that's true.
And that is, I think, one thing. And the other aspect which is very interesting to me is that 60% of all sales is in South India. They are very focused there.
Puneet, I was speaking to him. I told him that number that आपने 1 लाख आपने बेचा, 1.3 लाख वाहन के हिसाब से आपने बेचा पूरे साल में FY25 में. So
okay,
he said,
guys, we have 5 more minutes because then I have to rush for the show. Or maybe I'll leave. You can continue.
So so what he said, but इसमें तेलंगाना के numbers तो है नहीं, and we are one of the leaders in Telangana.
Okay.
So he must be 1.5 lakhs कुछ कर रहा है वो, and he's saying कि last 3 महीने में we are doing a market share of 13 to 15%, which ideally is a 10% on 9-month period. So he's saying that Rizta is giving us that additional push in the northern markets.
Northern markets, yes.
Which is there. So interesting IPO, 304 to 321. A valuation of nearly 12,000 odd crores, which is half of.
Sir, interesting IPO मतलब क्या?
Interesting IPO मतलब
लोग बोल रहे हैं सब्सक्राइब करो या ना करो.
अच्छा, ऐसे बोलने का है? हाँ.
क्या लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं? सब्सक्राइब और
लोग मैंने लोगों से पूछा ही नहीं अभी.
अच्छा अभी पूछा.
आज तो है, कल रात को तो आया.
और फिर भी कोई एनालिस्ट कुछ बोल रहे हैं, कुछ है क्या है?
कुछ. I think it's they're valuing it at par with the current price of Ola. But I think the certainty is much more in
Ather. Okay. You think so too, Puneet? Very quickly.
I think because वैसे Ola का, because everyone know about it, they've said that they'll be EBITDA profitable in Q1. Like their automotive business will be EBITDA profitable. If that doesn't happen, I feel like that might be a big negative and sentiment booster to Ather. But overall as a business, they don't have too much debt. 160 crore debt है. I think they must have
500 crore और 600 crore cash already
है. So it's not like it's like very out of
plus
whack.
imagine if you are going to spend 900 crores for the third factory in Maharashtra, which basically means the kind of the growth outlook you have for that, and they're sitting at 42% capacity utilization at this point in time. So the kind of runway that they are projecting for themselves is something which is there. By the way, आप extraterrestrial कब हुए थे? कार्तिकेय बोल रहे कि आपको तब से जानते हैं.
So good, yeah. Karthikeya, thank you so much for tuning in, by the way, and thank you for liking our work. Really means a lot to us. Really does. Okay. एक बताओ और क्या? मैं बताऊँ कोई हॉट स्टॉक जो जैसे वारी हमने ढूंढा कि
साइन डीएलएम भी कैसे था?
यार
मतलब
वन ऑफ थे उसमें.
हाँ वन ऑफ थे बट नंबर डिसेंट थे मेरे हिसाब
बट सर उन्होंने बोला है कि 13.5 का मार्जिन था.
से.
उन्होंने
10
बोला
से 13 हो गया ना.
हाँ 13.5 हो गया.
हाँ.
वन ऑफ थे, चलो ठीक है. वो बोल रहे हैं गाइडिंग टू डबल डिजिट मार्जिन, डबल डिजिट 10.5% ऑल्सो. सो नॉट
But
दिस.
look at it from a point of view of the uncertainty they're coming in from defense companies because they do a lot of work for them, right? From that point of view, if they're saying that we're going to guide 10.5%, it's just like IT saying, right? Okay, we're going to guide from 0 to 3%.
Yeah.
But put it in perspective, and they're still doing it. I want to give a benefit of doubt for them. I mean,
I'll contest this.
हाँ I know.
चलो करिए contest करिए फिलहाल 2 मिनट है.
मेरा ये है कि 10 क्वार्टर से उनका ऑर्डर बुक गिर रहा है. 10 क्वार्टर.
No quarter ना.
I mean this was
हाँ,
10th and
this was 10th, हाँ.
that तुम 9 क्वार्टर वो because
मतलब
they acquired
एडिशनल ऑर्डर्स जो आ रहे हैं वो गिरते जा रहे हैं. You mean to say?
organic order book जो है if I remove acquisition last quarter they did HCLTech now and that is the reason why it's 50% of valuation of what something like a Dixon Amber and all those other EMS
नहीं
companies
पर
trade.
साइन DLM तो
I mean,
सॉफ्टवेयर एंड ये उसमें
Yeah, but
डिजाइनिंग
it's
में है यार.
EMS they counter they call them say EMS so I'm like if you look at the other EMS basket he doesn't but I feel like 10 quarters of order book falling and now there I think there was a Kotak note also that this
तो पर आज के
BAL
ऊपर 8% गया है ये 8% ना
I
ऊपर
think a lot of it is based on valuation also है. It's
बहुत गिर गया है.
बहुत गिर गया है मतलब 700 का 400 हो गया था वो. और अभी it's like the biggest one of the clients was BEL in India in defense and this quarter they've pulled back. They've said कि okay we are cancelling the order 2.5 years का वो runway चला गया 43% defense revenue गिर गया. So I feel like there are a few things that they need to.
Guys, I'm leaving, but I have a request to you before you guys wrap up. Do talk about the gains in a lot of globally exposed auto hangs. Sona BLW is up 5% today. And it's not just HCLTech which is up, by the way. KPIT, persistent. So the ER&D pocket also is doing well.
I think, yeah.
So maybe you guys just maybe talk about that because both of you will be able to talk about both. I'll have to push because I have to go live on air at 2 o'clock. But thank you so much for tuning in today. See you guys.
See
Maybe take some questions.
Tomorrow you will be there. I won't be there.
Tomorrow आप कहाँ हो सर कल?
मैं इंडिया स्टील समिट में हूँ वहाँ पर.
कितने दिन के लिए जा रहे हो आप?
निकल सिर्फ.
अच्छा, only tomorrow is Thursday.
Thursday.
Alright.
तो हम तो आपके हवाले करके जाने कल.
ठीक है, लेकिन फ्राइडे को पक्का आना क्योंकि बाद में 2 हफ्ते के लिए अपना लास्ट शो होगा साथ में.
उसके बाद आप वैंस के साथ जा रहे हो ना यूएस.
हम जा रहे हैं इसके साथ जा रहे हैं डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प को मिलने. हम वॉरेन बफेट को मिलने जा रहे हैं. चलिए एक सेकंड. सी यू गाइस.
See you sir.
So there is I think Ashish ka Piyush has asked a question on Ola and Devanshu has.
Ather is profitable. I think we spoke about profitability.
Yeah.
But एक चीज रहेगा for scale. अभी they've launched the Rista पे 50% sales coming from Rista. So I think we should wait for the management. They will guide I think something on that aspect. कि what are the future plans similar to what Ola did last year when they launched. कि we are expecting to be profitable. I think that might be on the cards as well. But yes, some commentary will be expected on that aspect.
Yeah, Vigin Dharan, is it time to reallocate portfolio positions from internal facing to external facing sectors? I think we're still quite a few weeks or months away from that. June ke baad is when you have some certainty on this. See, there is a lot of discussions happening with respect to trade and others with all the countries. But till June, there's a pause of 90 days, right? So I would say if you are well positioned in the internal sectors, you're not going anywhere. I mean, you're still there. And many of them have some kind of exposures as well. Means it's not significant, but yes, they have. So I would say stay with internal because that's a safe bet as of now.
Yeah, I think Devanshu had a question. He's a proud Ather owner.
Yeah.
Devanshu, some review would be good as well. But he wants to understand valuation gap with Ola. I think you spoke about it a little bit. Ki it's more priced.
12,000 crores का income market cap है. Ola का 23,000 crores का है. Both are loss making in that sense. But Ola has a lot of headwind in terms of perception and actions. So they spoke about 4,000 stores opening and many of the stores are still not open or they're under action by.
Or they don't have trade certificates.
Yeah, exactly. The licenses are not there in place. So there is perception which is there. There is. And there's a lot of capex also which is coming in. So this business of Ather is not as capex incentive as Ola's is. They're more of a capex light, except for the R&D and maybe one of the factories where they're going to integrate, which is there.
So a lot of it is outsourced manufacturing as well. Yeah.
And they have a 25% exposure to China, and I asked them that question. Puneet, you were asking me, right? and they said that we have already tied up with Amara Raja and some of the others for semiconductors manufacturing in India, as well as replacement of those lithium-ion cells.
battery,
So Amara Raja, whenever it comes into play,
Yeah.
Ether will be one of them, which is there. Sagar Jamburkar, Axis, HDFC, ICC are trading at PB of 2.16, 2.8 respectively. The Axis Bank Reserve rating at least 2.5 PB given it has similar growth rate. And Axis के नंबर नहीं आए ना अभी तक, आने चाहिए, आने
हर्ष को पकड़ेंगे हम
हर्ष को
इस बात
पकड़ते
पे।
हैं इसको इस पे।
Yeah.
हर्ष भी वेट कर रहा है एक्सिस के नंबर्स के लिए और उसके हिसाब से। Mrinal, sorry for this uncomfortable question, but if India conducts a Balakot-like strike, most probably on LET camps in BOK, will this be a big negative? Especially, I don't think so. You know, Indian economy is now very well ring fence against this kind of thing. Today we are seeing some bit of mutedness because there is a geopolitical risk which is coming into play. But look at the statements which have come from many of the G5s, whether it's a US, UK, Australia, or France, or any other country, or Russia for that matter. So these companies are supporting India at this point in time, and they want some kind of justice which is there. So I think our response to that would be totally different, and it's not going to have an impact on the way FI is going to do it, because that's not, if at all, it comes in, it will be a short duration one, but FIs are not going to be much of a impacted by this kind of thing. Q3 Tech Mahindra changed the scenario of, has it brought good results? Tech Mahindra आया नहीं ना?
आ जाएगा कल में, So I think, but results largely because I think a lot of commentary will be something which will something to watch out for. I think they also have a new CEO. He's expecting a turnaround by FY27. But overall, I think in terms of revenue, I think about 1.5%. EBIT is 3% growth. Profit is expected to be 9% growth. But yes, I think some commentary also if there's been any project delays. But yeah, I think LTIM today, Tech Mahindra tomorrow will be definitely something to watch out for.
Piyush is asking a view on L&T Finance basically. Piyush, I don't have a view on the pricing part of it. On the fundamental part of it, I will try to get Harsh, I think, tomorrow, and he can answer that question for you on L&T Finance.
Mid-cap IT में भी emphasis और Coforge पे वही question था. If it's a good buy, I think wait for the result. I think results will be something. I think Coforge का result is May 5th. Emphasis is also tomorrow. So tomorrow we have 5 IT earnings actually which are coming out. Tech Mahindra is being one of them as well.
And many of them are mid-cap and...
I think Tech के अलावा तो सब
mid-cap here. So you'll get a trend from the mid-cap companies, what's the growth rate they're growing at. Your views on low volatility funds as a replacement for sensex and Nifty index. We should not be trading short term on in funds, index or ETFs or index funds basically. These are supposed to be long term duration because it first is meant for people who don't want to take daily volatility into play. Let the fund manager manage that for you in that sense. So it's not a replacement, short term replacement there. If you have a good index or ETF or index fund which is there, I think you sustain it, and SIP is something which is best for investors who don't have enough bandwidth or time to put in individual stocks. There's a lot of volatility which is there, and many retail investors burn hands because they're not able to manage this kind of volatility. And there are too many factors coming in, right? Means you have geopolitics, you have uncertainty, you have trade, you have macroeconomic conditions which is there, like IMF cut India's GDP, and then there are US flip-flop which is happening. One day Trump wants to fire Powell, the second day he said he doesn't have the intention, and then one day he's putting 245% on China, and the next day he's saying that I want to talk to them. So there are too many things which is coming in. Index fund है तो रखो उसको थोड़ी देर, this कोई जल्दी नहीं है. अगर ये certainty आने लगे तो स्टॉक्स बढ़ेंगे और इंडेक्स फंड बढ़ेंगे, तो आपका रिटर्न जो है, यस, जो रिस्क रिवॉर्ड रेशियो है, इफ यू टेक द हायर रिस्क हायर रिवॉर्ड, वो नहीं होगा आपको, बट यू विल गेट अ रिवॉर्ड इन फॉर्म ऑफ एन इंडेक्स मूविंग विच इज देयर.
I think एक question था Thandava Krishna, can I know your view on Gabriel India? It's a very interesting auto ancillary actually. Shock Observer बनाते हैं. They also now, I think, had a tie-up for making sunroofs as well. And sunroof is a import substitute play, very high margin business.
Yes, and nowadays every SUV has one.
Has it.
मतलब दो
Yeah.
चीजें तो होनी
अभी
चाहिए.
तो, हाँ, exactly.
एक तो वो होना चाहिए, ऑटोमेटिक होना चाहिए.
होना चाहिए, हाँ.
और एक sunroof
हाँ,
होना
हाँ,
चाहिए,
हाँ.
right?
So I think that, and I think Gabriel, अगर आप देखो last, I think year to date भी देखोगे, Gabriel is the only one which is giving more than like 10-12% returns. While Sona, BLW, all of those have fallen because of course, the tariff impact. I think that's the only. So it's a very interesting company, definitely. I think unka export ka commentary was something which was subdued last quarter, but it's a very interesting play, definitely. Mr. Krishna, so good identifying Gabriel India. Very interesting auto and company. और domestic वालों का definitely अभी बहुत focus में आ गए because no export exposure, so a lot
and
of the
what Niraj was talking to us about,
Yeah.
that some of the auto components companies which have
Yeah.
exposure to the US.
US.
Do you think that things have turned for them, or it should be a wait and watch?
I think it should be a wait and watch, and I think one call which I'm very interested to hear is definitely of Sona BLW. They have a huge plant there also in US, but a lot of their exports are from the India plant. They have roughly about 40% revenue from USA. And I think within Auto Anks, I think Sona had the highest exposure. There are other ones like Motherson, Samvardhana Motherson hai, Balakrishna Tires hai. But I think Sona BLW, because it caters to clients like Tesla, it has some real exposure to the US. I think stock prices also corrected some slight recovery, but
True, we've been talking this through the show and at multiple times, and we have been saying that this earnings season, spend 1 hour every day, pick up a company of the sector and go through the earnings call or a transcript and see what they are saying. That will give you. So if you have an exposure to the consumption sector or an FMCG, pick up one. HUL का कल आ रहा है रिजल्ट्स, उसके earnings कल आ रहे हैं और शाम को उसका earnings analyst call होगा. Listen to what they are saying on demand, what they are saying on pricing. Like we were talking in the morning little earlier about cooling solutions. ऐसे तब उनके earnings आए तो look at how it's giving. More than the company's performance, which many of the management will be defending in a call. Look at the commentary on the environment. That is what will help you in understanding how these companies are doing. So the companies can be very bullish in the calls, but if they are talking about the environment, and if the environment is consistent across the same type of companies, right, then it gives you a much better understanding of क्या हो रहा है इस sector में.
I think एक भी sector नहीं है that you can actually let go कि चलो अगला quarter देख लेंगे, because this quarter is going to be
it's a make and break kind of
you'll see, and it will give you a lot of perspective of identifying winners as well, I think, this quarter. So definitely that.
So the winners of FY25 we'll get to know from this this earnings, and look at them. Infosys आ चुका है, TCS आ चुका है, विप्रो आ चुका है, HCLTech आ चुका है. ये चारों के कमेंट्री देखो ग्लोबल, एंड उसमें नोट डाउन कर लो भाई कि दिस इज व्हाट दे टॉकिंग अबाउट ग्लोबल on orders, on pricing, on uncertainty, discretionary spend, transformation deals, whatever you, and compare, and each of them would be saying almost the same thing, but उनकी अपनी commentary about the companies may be different. So that's where you will have to discount some bit of the commentary of the companies and then say अच्छा ये क्या हो रहा है. And आज का अगर हम मार्केट देखेंगे तो 4% है ऊपर. And a bit of it is primarily because of the fact that there is expiry happening tomorrow, which is coming in, so there will be some kind of short covering which is happening, but पूरा short covering की वजह से नहीं है, कुछ तो fundamentally है, because the commentary has been not as disappointing as we speak, and the kind of downgrades which have come in, the consensus downgrade for each of these companies has been much lower than what the street was expecting. So growth is there, it's much on a muted scale, and I think that's what is getting adjusted, and these companies have adjusted so much.
And I think वो analysts बोलते हैं कि dividend yield है 4% का, free cash
वो
flow yield
भी है. Means many of them are holding some of the Infosys or Wipro, or TCS are holding for so many years, and when they give 30-40 rupees as dividend, some of the investors get a good amount of income with them. So if you're holding from the IPO days, or maybe even after that, इतने बार बोनस आ चुके हैं कि वो मल्टीप्लाई होकर डिविडेंड आपको बहुत मिलता है एक्चुअली.
And I think I think Niraj sir was referring to this, the auto ER&D focused IT companies, KPIT and everything. Usme dual hai ki because they cater to auto industry which has not been doing very well, and some concerns in Europe which for the auto industry was expected. But I think I think commentary again to watch out for there as well.
So again, there is a support which is coming up at 24,000 puts, which is there, and as volatility index देखोगे तो it's up around 4.5% or so.
Yes.
So that's puts been written there.
Yeah.
तो उसकी वजह से हो रहा है 4% up है. So there is a support at 24,000. 24,300 में आपको calls दिख रहा है, तो there is this, थोड़ा सा वो top और resistance दिख रहा है आपको, and that's why the index is also 0.5% up. So थोड़ा बहुत volatility रहेगा towards the last 1 hour of trade as we speak.
Yep. But yeah, I think that was one of those final questions, at least for today.
Yes, and we come back tomorrow. And Harsh will be there. He will answer some of the banking and NBFC questions, and Niraj will be there as well.
But apologies for the delay, but thanks so much for joining in today, asking all those questions, as well as on a day where market's actually doing very well as well. But stay tuned to NDTV Profit. Keep liking the video,
liking and subscribing,
and subscribing as well. Click the bell icon, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.